You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 238 of Teach Better Talk. My name is Marie Hughes, and as always, I am with the almighty Jeffrey Gargis. Jeff, how are you?
It was really perfect that you said the almighty, because normally you're mean. That was pretty nice, although I don't think you were being truthful. I think you were being sarcastic. But the funny part about that is you just referred to me as the almighty. And at that moment, I was thinking how I was about to confess to everyone listening and watching that. I was just like, when you were doing 238, I was like 2, 3. And I had to like really think about how to make 8 with my fingers. So almighty might be a little extreme.
You know what? I don't appreciate, Jeff, that you always assume the worst in me. Like when I say that you're wonderful and so bright and, for example, like last episode, hungry. I mean it in the best way
Very
possible.
accurate.
I always mean it in this loving way. And you always assume the worst. I think our listeners, really are getting annoyed that you are assuming the worst, that I'm not genuine in my description.
I'm going to sit here for a minute and just see how quickly you do that and laugh about how much baloney that was.
Whatever. Baloney is a funny word. Let's move on.
Baloney is a funny word. It's enjoyable to smell. To spell. To spell. Hey, look, we're on number 3. This is Saturday morning. I'm going to say words that don't make sense. I'm not the right words. Let's talk about something better than this.
Better than baloney? Let's do it.
Baloney. Something we announced, and I hope it's okay that I'm going there. Something that we announced during our 12-hour live back on December 29th. By the way, if you didn't know, we went live for 12 hours. It's awesome. You can find it all over on youtube.com/teachbetterteam. It's there. It's a good time. One of our segments, I think it was at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time segment. We announced this, which is super, super, super excited. And that is that our ambassador program, which we launched last June during our first 12-hour live event. And we opened it up. We have 25, I think it's 25 amazing educators who are ambassadors who are family at this point. We are open applications back up on February 8th. That's happening to bring in more people. You've got, 3 weeks to fill it out. So, can you lay out the details? I feel like I'm doing a semi-okay job, but I feel like you'll do better. So
I just feel like
do a transfer to Ray. Now Ray does the proper explanation, and
you're full of baloney, Jeff Burgess. I don't know what to tell you. Yes. Okay. So, guys, Ambassadors Opening is kind of a big deal for us. We launched this program. It took a year. Megan and Andrea have been a part of the team. They were building this for a year in the background of being a part of the Teach Better family. Then it launched, and we were like, all right, how do we do this? And there were so many different times that we were like, hey, do we open applications right now? Do we wait? And I think that kind of Teach Better style, we wanted to bring in a small group, make sure we did it super duper well, and get a ton of feedback before we opened it up and continue to grow. We've taken the last 6 months. We have incredible things that have happened in 2020, but one of my favorite things has been this master program. I never knew that this was something I needed so badly, but having this core group of people that are so supported, so supportive of each other, so connected to what the Teach Better team's doing, and always building me up in a very selfish way. I go to the ambassadors when I need a pep talk, they're my people. So obviously they're doing so many good things. They're all around the world. And it's time for you to join the Teach Better family through the Teach Better Ambassador Program. So applications open February 8th. And in the past, we actually opened them up until we had a certain number of applications come in, and then we closed them. We realized that was really not conducive to
it took about 5 hours.
Yeah, it didn't work for all educators at all. So we were like, all right, we're going to do it differently this time. It's going to be open for 3 stinking weeks. So you have so much time to do the application. The application, by the by, will not take you 3 weeks to fill out. I just want you to know that. We're leaving it open just in case, this is a very busy time. I mean, guys, I'm in the classroom living, breathing with you. Sometimes my weeks go by and I look back and I'm like, whoa, it's already been 5 days. So we're leaving it open for 3 weeks. It'll be open February 8th through the 27th, and that's a Saturday. And we are going to make sure that you have ample time to fill out this application. We are really looking for passionate educators who are already a part of the Teach Better family to continue to level up and be a part of the Ambassador program. There are a whole lot of perks to being a part of the Ambassador program. We do keep some of those a secret because we do really believe that it's kind of a very special, fun little group. But there are a lot of surprises coming. And if you're somebody who not only wants to continue carrying that Teach Better mindset, but also wants to be a further connected educator carrying that mindset, this is really for you. So there's a lot of hidden pieces, Jeff. I really am scared to talk about too many of them, but I just want everyone to apply. Maybe that's the point.
Yeah, so a couple frequently asked questions, Ray, about being an ambassador.
Sure.
One, where can I find more information on what an ambassador is and how to apply?
Great question. So I can give you the URL, but it might be easier. Just go to teachbetter.com. And if you go under what we do, there is literally an ambassador section. So I think it's teachbetter.com/ambassadors.
/ambassador, yep.
Yeah, so you can just do that. But if you're just on the home screen, go under what we do. There's a whole list of all the things Teach Better team does. I think it's the fourth to last one. You're going to see literally the ambassador program. And by the by, if you go there, I know they don't open until February 8th, but there's a button to get a reminder, a reminder email. That might be the easiest way because for me, I just lose track of time constantly. And if I get an email reminder, that will be helpful.
So that's that. Question number 2 is, do I have to be someone who runs the grid method or to the Teach Further model in my classroom to be an ambassador?
No, definitely not. I mean, I love the grid method. I love the Teach Further model. That's awesome, but absolutely not. No, if you're somebody who is in education, whether you're a classroom teacher, a coach, a paraprofessional, an ambassador, an administrator, a superintendent, anything in between, if you carry the mindset of education's awesome and we can be better together, you're probably almost qualified.
You accidentally said ambassador, but actually another question I think I've had at least 1 or 2 people ask me is, I'm already an ambassador for Flipgrid or for some other, I don't know, Schoology or something like that. Does that disqualify me? Can I still be an ambassador?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I'm a huge advocate for so many educational groups and teams and companies. I think if you're connected to other groups, why not be an ambassador for as many things as possible? Doesn't that make us better all around?
Final question.
Oh, final question. Here we go.
And I'm not 100% sure what the answer is. I need to talk to Megan and Andrew. Maybe you know. If I happen to be, and I know there's only a couple of them out there, but if I happen to be a hashtag Team Jeff, can I still apply?
No, I'm sorry. That is a part of the application process. You do have to pick what team you're on. And if you select Team Jeff, you automatically get this pop-up that's warning, unable to apply.
There's been a virus inserted in your computer. Everything's crashing.
Or it's I'm sorry, I think you selected the wrong answer. Please try again.
It's actually a checkbox. It's just you can't check it. It just will not let you check.
That's true.
So super excited about that being open. And everything's Ray mentioned it. Go over to teachbetter.com/ambassador and you can click and get reminded. So you get an email that will say, "Hey, it's open. Here's the link." To make sure you don't forget, so you can get in there and get it.
Can I say something dumb? I was asked a question and I didn't even realize this was a question, so I so apologize to our network for my ignorance on this. But I got a question right after 12 Hour Live when we announced this, wanting to know how much the application fee was.
That was going to be one of my frequently asked questions, and I forgot. I got thrown off. Yes.
Can I just preface?
Does it cost any money?
No, guys, this is 100% free. You know how we do things. Of course, we do have some things that when we partner with districts, there's this cost of professional development. That's how we pay our bills. But guys, the ambassador program is just another way for you to be connected to the people you're probably already connected to, but not deeply enough. And so this is a free application. This is a free program. We just want to support you better. And this all started, if you remember, Jeff, at the very beginning, it was people that were already such Teach Better advocates that we were we're not amplifying their voices enough, but they're doing incredible things. And that's how this started. So come join the family. No money required.
I do want to note, and I think this is important, although it's not as fun to talk about, but, there is the question of, do you take everyone? And it's a sort of an unfortunate, like, no, we can't, not right now. That's why we plan to open it up multiple times this year.
Yes.
But because we do put so much emphasis on not just being a group that this is a group, oh, good job, here you go, here's your email banner. Like, we work with these people. We want to amplify their voices. We want to do things. Megan and Andrea, they work so hard to do and to support this group and to be a family that we can only take on so many at a time. So I want to touch on that. Like I said, that's not as like fun and fluffy, but it's a reality.
But it's a reality.
Multiple times this year.
That's true. Apply once. You can always apply again later when it reopens. But Jeff, don't you think? I know this was ages ago. Teach Better Conference 2019. Do you remember that day?
Yes.
We hosted an incredible. I almost just said an inappropriate word. We hosted an incredible conference and it was awesome. But we had the same mindset around wanting to keep the conference small that I think we do for this ambassador program. Like, we would rather have a small, intimate conference of a few hundred educators so that we can legitimately, as a team, have a conversation with everyone there, really make it personalized for people that are there, and really want, like, to foster this intimate setting of family. And we'd rather do 15 of those a year than like one massive event. We really, really believe in connections being at the root of everything that we do, right? Where our motto is connected, supported, inspired. And the ambassador program does carry the same thing. So if we really, really, really want to focus on connections. I think I'm blabbling, but that's, anyway, same thing. So not everybody gets accepted, but apply multiple times. And if you don't get accepted, reach out to us. And there's so many other ways you can continue to get involved, but I am rooting for you.
Love it. teachbetter.com/ambassador for all of that. I'm telling you, right, you go over right now, click on there, put your email in so that we can email you when things open so that you are very well aware. Then you don't even have to remember.
No.
We'll let you know. So let's talk about this episode. Eli Casaus is someone who I've been connected with a lot recently over the last 4 or 5 months because of the mastermind. He's been connected with us for a while. Just a good dude. I don't know. We can describe him in a lot of ways. He's just a good dude. At one point, he mentions and he kind of talks this idea of being real, being kind, and being you. And I'm like, that is like just so Eli. It's not even funny. He's so authentic and so transparent, and he shares a lot with us and so much value in this episode. I'm really excited for people to hear it. Ray, your thoughts? What do you want people to take away from it?
You know, I'm so excited to continue to get to know Eli. This was a great insight to all that he continues to do, and he has such a bright future, and I love that he's so active in our admin mastermind. So we talk about that a lot, and if you aren't a part of the mastermind, please join. It's another free link. People just get together and hang out. Apparently that's our thing. It's all we've talked about in this intro. That's over at teachbetter.com/mastermind. You can see it on the homepage. So I love that this was a time that we could highlight an incredible administrator that is a part of the Teach Better family.
All right, with that said, let's get into episode 238 with Eli Casaus.
Hey guys, we'll get right back to the episode, but I wanted to make you aware of our January giveaway. We are giving away a one-on-one coffee with yours truly that includes a $15 Starbucks gift card and lifetime access to the Teach Better Academy. That means, like, legitimately, you get all the courses in our academy for life, whether they've been published already or will be published at any point in the future. It's crazy. This giveaway is only going on January 12th through the 14th, so make sure you follow these 3 simple steps to be up for the running. First thing you need to do is you got to go follow the Teach Better team over on Instagram. When you do that, you need to repost a specific picture into your stories and make sure you tag at Teach Better Team. Last but not least, comment boom on the photo and you are up for winning this big kickoff giveaway that the team is doing this January. I hope you choose to participate, and let's get back to this episode.
All right, we are here and we are chatting with Eli Casaus. And Eli, man, it's so awesome having you on this podcast. We've been connected for a while now. You're a regular, I think you're like a founding member, I think, at this point of our admin mastermind, our evening mastermind. It doesn't feel right if I get in there and you're not there. So it's been awesome to be connected with you, to be learning with you, and to grow with you. And now to have you on a podcast just feels like it just makes sense for you to be here now. So super excited to have you here. Really excited to dive into your story, learn more about you. But before we get too far into the questions, how are you feeling right now?
Oh, I am living the dream. It's nice to finally be on here. I've listened to this podcast for so long, and I can't believe that I've never been on it. Um, and yeah, like you said, Mastermind is like one of my favorite parts of the week. My week feels incomplete without it.
I was going to say, Ray, I think we can all agree that it's probably Dave's fault that he hasn't been on here yet, so we'll just put that on Schmitto for now.
Oh, I
I
love
mean,
to blame him. That's a good
yeah,
go-to.
I totally agree. I think anytime we can blame Dave is a good day.
Always a good day.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Eli, I'm excited to learn more about you personally because I've obviously been connected with you. I'm thrilled that you engage with the Teach Better team all the stinking time. Mastermind highlights you as like this incredible, incredible educator. I cannot wait to dive deeper into your story. But I want our listeners to get to know you a little bit in a way that you would describe yourself. So if like you bumped into somebody and they said, "Hey, Eli, what do you do?" How would you typically describe your work in education?
I would just say that really more than anything, I'm just trying to be real, be kind, and be myself. But I mean, I'm a principal that never wanted to be a principal. Which kind of followed my teaching story. I became a teacher after fighting becoming a teacher, although I knew deep down I always wanted to be a teacher. So really, I just like to, as an educator, just be somebody who's trying to leave the world a little bit better than I found it, and by being an authentic self. I would say that that's the best way to describe myself.
I think authentic is absolutely the best way to describe you, for sure, Eli. I want to dive. You just mentioned like a principal or didn't want to be a principal, kind of fought an educator. I'd love to hear. Can you kind of share that story of like how you became a principal, like how that journey happened for you?
Yeah. So, as a kid growing up, so like kindergarten, I was the kid who ran away from the bus, would, bust the can of cherries on my snack day in the hall to run away from school because I hated school. I did not want to go to school. Um, who learned to just really love school, and like I would play school growing up, and I wanted to be a teacher. But as I, got further into middle and high school, I was like, I just don't want to be poor my whole life. And my mom was an educator, and so she she would always kind of joke like, "Don't follow my footsteps." And so I fought it, and in college I went through some dark times, and I had dropped out, and I went to volunteer at my mom's school, and it was just setting foot in that school really reaffirmed what I was meant to do and what I was called to do. And so I went back to school and I became a teacher. As I was teaching in the state of New Mexico, we have a 3-tiered licensure system, and so in order to advance from tier 2 to tier 3, you have to have a master's. And so I was getting my master's originally in ed leadership, and my advisor was really encouraging me to go ahead and just get it in ed admin because the difference was just my intern hours really was the biggest difference. And so between her and my principal, I decided to go ahead and change my major with zero intention of ever being a principal. I never wanted to leave the classroom. But as I got through my internship, dominoes continued to fall, and I ended up being an acting principal. And then I got called. I had been applying for instructional coach positions and assistant principal positions because my admin were both going to be retiring the following school year, and I couldn't imagine teaching under a different administration, and I knew that it was just time to do something different. And so as I started to apply for these jobs, I wasn't getting called for any interviews. And so there were 3 principal positions open and in my district, and I decided to just throw my name in the hat just so I could get some admin interview experience. I got called for the first interview, and it was a pretty large school, and it was a big special ed hub. And when they called to schedule my interview, I had won a scholarship from Kagan Cooperative Learning to go to their summer academy, and so I was in Florida when they called me for an interview, and I was like, "Are you sure? Because I don't think I'm really qualified for this job." And so I interviewed, and I thought that it went terrible. I ended up coming in second for that position, but then I got called for the next day for the second school that I had applied for. And that interview, I don't know what it was within me that I was like, you know what, I'm really ready for this, and I really want this, and I really wanted that school. But again, I came in second, but that time I got called to the superintendent's office, and I was like, oh God, what did I say wrong in my interview, or what did I mess up in summer school as the summer school principal? And he had had a conversation with me about another school that had come open, and that he needed to appoint a principal there immediately because they were starting school within the next 2 days, and they needed a principal right then and there. And so I ended up getting my first principal gig at that point, and I never thought that was what I wanted to do, and I've almost walked away a couple times, but this is truly something I enjoyed doing.
But I love that story because it's just sort of one of these, like you've been on this journey, and it very rarely goes the way that we think it should, or that we think we want it to, or that we even plan it to go. But then you get to this point. I love that that story ended with it's something that you really love doing. And when you talk with you, and when so much interaction with you in the mastermind, like it's easy to tell that you do enjoy doing it. And so it's really cool to see how that story kind of unfolded and how your journey brought you there, even though it wasn't necessarily how you thought that was going to go. I love those types of stories. So I want to keep the kind of the story stuff going here and seeing if you could share a story with us about a time that you've had a failure. One of the things we talk about in this podcast a lot is this idea of overcoming failures. And I always say that I've been really fortunate in my life to fail a lot because it's what's made me into the person I am today. I've learned so much. I learn every day looking back on stuff that I messed up, 5-10 years ago. And so I love hearing these stories. So I'm wondering if you could share a story with us about a time that you've failed. Kind of take us there with you. What happened? How did you overcome it? And then what did you take away from that experience?
Oh, it's so hard to pick one because I feel like I fail so much and I'm so hard on myself. I'm definitely one of those people who self-deprecates really easily. But I would say my first year of principalship was a lot of failure. I had no idea what I was really doing. I really didn't. I mean, like I was never an assistant principal. I came straight out of the classroom, and like I just told you in that story, like I was appointed an interim principal overnight. Like or not even overnight. He appointed me that morning, or he asked me if I would be interested. I actually said no. And he kind of kept pushing my thinking and challenged me, and called me about an hour later and said, I'm on my way to your school and we're going to go to your new school so I can introduce you, and offered me the job. And, that year I feel like I failed a lot, especially at the very beginning. I would constantly go home questioning, like, am I enough, or am I doing enough? A kid walked off campus while I was away at a job fair, and, it was on the news, and I can just think of a million, my school literally caught on fire that school year. And I can remember like trying to figure out how to blame myself. And, I felt like that year I continuously failed, but I think that leaning in on my network helped me a lot. And to just continue to keep that mindset of, it's not about how many times I get knocked down, but how many times I stand back up. And so that whole year, being somebody who had a history of running away from problems or things, to have finished that school year out and to have stayed in the game was big for me.
I think that a lot of first year principals would say that, but you just listed like 14 different things that happened in, your first year teaching that everybody I'm sure is thinking back like, whoa, that would be a lot to handle. Like, I think that acknowledging not only the challenge of being a principal, but then all the things that come with it, like, holy moly, that's a lot.
Yeah, like I did, like, from the parents fighting in the parking lot the first day of school, and nobody really knew who I was, and just, kind of like, most teachers on that first day of school, like, they hand you your classroom keys, and then it's this now what moment. And then, the bell rings on the first day of school and all the parents finally leave, and the classroom door shuts and it's just you and the kids for the first time. And you're kind of like, okay, now what? I feel like my first year principalship was constantly like that. Now what? And especially like when I would fail over and over, like, now what?
But now to see you like on the other side, like you really were so persistent in ensuring that you were always giving your best and learning throughout the process. And that's something that so many people on our team has shared about getting to know you specifically through the mastermind, is being so inquisitive and always wanting to get feedback and learn. And I think that mindset, while I'm sure like the first, year or so, continuously being a principal is so challenging, carrying that mindset of always wanting to be better, surround yourself with good people. That's really how we get through these really challenging times that in the moment feel like failures. And later on, we can look back at and say, wait, hold on, look how I've come out of that. That's a massive success. When it comes to things that are like exciting you, we think about like fueling your fire, like getting you through these hard times, but also something that gets you excited about the work you're doing. What would be one thing that's really keeping you excited about education and the work that you're doing?
I think it goes back to that failing forward part, especially over this past year as this pandemic has been, as challenging as it has been. As a principal, I don't think I've ever, as an educator, period, I don't know that I've ever been more excited to do the work. Excited because, I constantly have told my staff over the last, year or so, like, okay, yeah, we mourn what we knew and what work than I am right now because, with everything being in such disarray and, it looks so different that we remember what was, but we embrace what we're currently facing and we look forward to what is. And we just had this opportunity in this pre-layer, and we had to just completely rethink education overnight. That part is what makes me push to innovate and think outside the box and just really push education to a new level. And I'm constantly reminding them, okay, so what was working and what was good about the past and what's working now, and how do we go forward with that? And so for me, that excitement is all about that focus on like being super intentional, really intentional with our teaching, really intentional with our relationships and putting those first, really focusing on that social emotional learning, really having to, being in a large district, I've always had a lot of autonomy in like our professional development and working with my team to really develop our school plans. But this has really given us that little extra oomph to just really like take things and run with them and make them ours and really serve our community the best that we can and really meet our needs. And it's just, that's what has me so excited about what I do right now, is just seeing my teachers being the professionals that they are and being able to really say, okay, this is our task right now, and kind of getting out of their way and just being that relentless cheerleader for them. I think that's what has me so excited about what I do right now in education.
Oh, and that perfectly goes into the next question, because I was going to ask you about advice, but I feel like you've been sharing advice this whole episode. So I don't know if you have like a specific one that you knew you wanted to leave our listeners with for Teach Better Talk podcast, but you have done so much. You've overcome so much, and yet you're still extremely early in your career. And I can only imagine where you're going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. If you had to drop one piece of advice that you would really want to give teachers, educators, anyone in the field working with students, what would be that one piece of advice?
I mentioned it earlier, and it's kind of like the mantra that I try to stick behind. And if I ever wrote a book, this is what it would be about. It would be like, be real, be kind, and be you. Just like really making sure that you are remaining that balanced person of like who yourself is, and staying true to you always, and just doing what's best for kids always. I think that's like what has been able to keep me going, but also has kept my spirit alive, and what has allowed me to get through those most difficult days or make that really difficult decision. When the principal I worked for the longest and was my mentor, Principal Gianna Jaramillo, she really and her assistant principal Darlene, they were such a team, and what they always instilled in us was, to push that boundary, but to always stay true to ourselves, but to always make sure that whatever we were teaching, whatever decision we were making, was always what was best for kids. And if you could, at the end of the day, truly answer with this is what was best for kids, you never made a wrong decision. And so anytime I'm trying to make a hard decision or do anything, I can go back to that North Star. And I think that, again, going back to the pandemic, like as we've had to reinvent education and we've faced everything that we faced over the last year, really staying, really grounded in that has made decision making pretty easy in my school as we shifted to virtual. And I haven't seen I've hardly seen kids in my school since March. We're barely at a point now where we have a few of our special ed kids back in for special ed in the red, but other than that, I haven't seen kids since March, and it's January, and so it's crazy. But that kind of thinking and has been what has kept me grounded, and that's the advice I would give to teachers, is to just always stay true to whatever is best for kids and stay true to yourself, and just all that extension of grace and mercy and kindness.
Wow. Be real, be kind, be you. I love that. That is a mantra that anyone can live by. I love that. And I love the reason behind it, and kind of where you go into the depth and how that's making these decisions, and so many decisions and difficult decisions that had to been made all the time, but even more so in 2020, and having that be that thing that's guided you, I think is such an important piece to hold on to. So I really love that, Eli. Let's go with these next 6 questions. We're going to have a little bit of challenge here. I'm going to throw them at you. Your goal is to answer each one in 15 seconds or less. Are you good to go?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. What is one ed tech tool you cannot live without?
I could not live without Twitter.
I'm with you on that. It's our place, man. That's where we go, right? It's the water cooler. It's everything.
It's my go-to.
Yes. Give us a book you're reading right now.
I'm actually not reading anything at the current moment. It's winter break, and I am unplugged. And I'm one of those weird educators that I don't really like to read. So I don't really read for fun. But the last 2 books that I did read were great. And that was Becoming the Educator They Need by Robert Jackson and Recovery EDU by Daniel Patterson.
Eli, wait, really quick. I love that he's like, I don't really read, but he's like addicted to Twitter and listens to podcasts. It's like, guys, there are so many ways to get professional development, books being one avenue. But Eli, just to tell you, like, you probably read so much professional development and you just don't think of it like, oh, it's a book. Like, there's so many other ways that you're growing. I love that. You and I are very similar in that way.
100%. I read a lot. I just don't like to sit down and read a book in that traditional sense.
I'm right there with you. So sticking to that same thing, it goes perfectly into the 3rd question. Who do we need to follow on Twitter today?
Well, I think I'd probably get in trouble if I didn't say my fiance, Brandy Miller, Bmilla84 on Twitter. We actually met through Twitter originally, so fun story there. Russell Swartz, and we'll go with Schmidu.
Hey, Jeff, do you feel a special bond that like he met his, fiance on Twitter and you and I met on Twitter? This is like so wonderful. See the love that Twitter brings people.
Yeah, but he can look back and say, Twitter, you brought me the love of my life, the most important person in my life, and you and I are kind of like, I mean, all right, Twitter,
Wait, do you like that? I guess my response was like a shrug that nobody could see. It's like, meh, thanks, Twitter.
I think I got the winning end of that one.
Yeah, you absolutely did.
You did.
Let's continue on with what's a good YouTube channel, website, or podcast for educators to check out.
Really any social media outlet that can let you find like your group and to like find your network and really find what works for you, for sure. Lately for me, we've done a lot of shifting towards social emotional learning and, character development. My school partnered with Character Strong this past year, and that's been a huge go-to for me. I've been pulling a lot from them lately.
Give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
Practicing self-care, whatever that looks like for you. That looks different for everybody. Some people find self-care in doing some passion projects for work. Some people, it's going to the gym, it's taking a nap, it's whatever, a vacation. It's whatever works for you, but really making sure that you're unplugging and practicing that self-care.
And what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
taking time for you, especially when you're not at work. I talked a lot about my mentor earlier about, keeping grounded and centered in what's best for kids. But she also told me, especially when I became a principal, to put barriers in place, like going out of town when I wasn't at work, so that I was truly unavailable and I could really recharge the way that I wanted to. And that's one of the best pieces of advice, aside from what I feel like I talked enough about, like the staying grounded and kids part earlier. So I'm going to go with that answer for that question.
So important. You've been really consistent in your answers, thinking about like not only growing as an educator, but taking care of yourself as a person. I love that piece of advice. And it's something that I think people heard a lot in 2020 and is not something that should go away in 2021. Make sure you are constantly taking care of yourself and those around you so you can be your best. I love that, Eli. So awesome. As it comes to people staying connected to you, I know you have like a website, a blog, you're all over Twitter, you're on Instagram. Can you share a little bit about how our listeners can stay connected?
Yeah, my blog is on my website, which I've done a really bad job of upkeeping in 2020, but I do plan on doing better in 2021. You can find my website at www.mrcoacheli.com. And all of my social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Voxer, all of it is under the handle at Mr. Coach Eli.
Making it easy for us. I love that. So you can find all the links, all the resources, everything we mentioned in this episode over at teachbetter.com, as well as the really important links for connecting with Eli and keeping that conversation going. So head over to teachbetter.com for all of that. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And if you can give us a rating and review, really appreciate that as well. And let's keep taking this one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues who need to hear these amazing stories and connect with these amazing educators, and just share this podcast with them. Eli, man, this was awesome. I really appreciate you coming on, sharing so much of your story. I always love listening to you share, whether you're sharing as a form of to help someone or because you're inquiring and trying to find support for yourself. You are always so vulnerable and transparent and real. And I just love that about you. I so appreciate that about you. I really appreciate you taking some time and hanging out with us today, man. Thank you.
No, thank you guys for having me. It was great talking with you both this morning.
And until next time, let's get out there and let's teach better.